Have you ever felt that something you do might be making others uncomfortable? As we age, there's a certain freedom that comes with not worrying so much about what others think. That can be a gift. But sometimes, without realizing it, that same freedom turns into habits that quietly push people away. They don't always say anything out loud, but you might notice a pause, a change in tone, or someone suddenly becoming busy. And often, it's not because they don't care. It's because something in your behavior is making them feel uneasy, disrespected, or even drained. This video isn't about blaming or shaming, it's about awareness. We're going to go through 10 habits that many older adults fall into completely unknowingly that tend to make others uncomfortable. These aren't just little quirks. They're things that, when repeated, can slowly chip away at our relationships with loved ones, friends, and even caregivers. If you've ever found yourself wondering why people don't visit as much, or why conversations seem shorter than they used to be, these signs might give you a clearer picture. And more importantly, they can help you build deeper, more enjoyable connections moving forward. Stay tuned until the end, because some of the last points might surprise you and might just shift the way you think about the little things you do each day. Whether you've seen these habits in yourself or in others around you, recognizing them is the first step to growing past them. Let's take an honest, compassionate look together. Before we dive in, if you're finding value in this conversation, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit. Your experiences and insights are valuable, and together, we can foster understanding and connection. Habit 1. Talking too much about your health problems. One of the first habits that tends to quietly wear on others is when conversations keep circling back to your health, your pain, your medications, your test results, and all the procedures you've had or are thinking about getting. Now let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with sharing how you feel. Everyone deserves to be heard, especially when they're dealing with real challenges. But when it becomes the centerpiece of every visit, every phone call, or every casual chat, it starts to drain the room. You might not notice it, but when someone asks, "How are you?" and you launch into a 20-minute rundown of your blood pressure, arthritis flare-ups, and bathroom schedule, they're not always sure how to respond. They nod politely. They say, "I'm sorry to hear that." But inside, they might be feeling helpless, overwhelmed, or even shut out of the conversation. Talking about health all the time shifts the focus away from connecting and toward managing. It can turn every conversation into a one-way street. And when that becomes a pattern, people begin to avoid the talk altogether. Not because they don't care, but because they feel like they don't matter in the space anymore. The relationship becomes more about your body than about each other. There's also something that happens emotionally when health talk dominates. It puts people in a caregiving mindset, even if that's not their role. A granddaughter who came to share her news about college ends up fielding a list of symptoms. A neighbor hoping to chat about last night's game suddenly finds themselves listening to a recap of your last doctor visit. These moments add up. But here's the truth. Your presence is more than your medical history. You have stories, wisdom, humor, perspective. When those get buried beneath constant talk of discomfort, others miss the best parts of you. That doesn't mean you have to pretend everything is fine when it's not. It just means you might try balancing the conversation. If someone asks how you're doing, maybe keep it brief. Then ask them how they're doing. Share something light. Tell a funny story. Give space for other topics to live and breathe between the realness of your health updates. Because when people feel seen, and not just needed as emotional support, they stick around. And they'll want to hear about your doctor visit too, when it's part of a bigger, richer conversation about life.
Habit 2. Giving unsolicited advice. Another habit that can create distance, especially with younger family members, is offering advice without being asked. Of course you mean well. You've lived through more, seen more, made mistakes, and learned from them. But here's the hard truth. Even when your advice is spot on, if it's not asked for, it often feels like judgment. You might think you're being helpful by pointing out how they should handle their money, how to raise their kids, or how their relationship reminds you of someone who got divorced. But what they often hear is, "I don't trust you to figure this out," or worse, "You're not good enough as you are." Advice, even when it's well-intentioned, can sound like correction if it wasn't invited. And especially for younger generations, There's a fine line between wisdom and control. When that line gets crossed too often, they stop coming to you at all. Not because you don't have value, but because your words come with pressure, not presence. There's a better way. Instead of jumping in, pause. Really listen, let them talk it through without feeling the need to fix it. And if you feel that urge rising, try this. Ask, do you want my thoughts or do you just need to vent? That one sentence shows deep respect. It gives them the choice to invite your perspective in. And when they do, that's when your words truly land. That's when they say, you know what my grandpa told me once, I never forgot it. Advice given with permission becomes a gift, not a correction. And what makes it stick is not just what you said, but how you honored their space first. Habit 3. Refusing to adapt to new technology. There's a difference between not understanding something and refusing to understand it. And when it comes to technology, that resistance, especially when it's loud or dismissive, can quietly shut people out of your life. Yes, technology moves fast. Maybe too fast. Smartphones, video calls, text messages, QR codes. Sometimes it feels like the world changed while you were still figuring out the last gadget. That feeling is valid. It's okay to struggle. But here's what stings for younger folks. When they try to help and hear, "This is stupid," or "I don't need that junk," it doesn't just sound like rejection of a tool. It sounds like rejection of their world. Because for them, technology isn't just gadgets. It's how they work, connect, schedule, and live. When you mock or dismiss it, it can feel like you're mocking their entire way of being. You don't have to master everything. But showing a willingness to try, saying something like, "I don't get this, but I'd like to learn," opens doors. It says, "I want to stay connected with you." And that effort means more than perfection ever could. The next time someone offers to show you how to join a video call or check a restaurant online, try saying, "Sure, show me slowly." You'd be surprised how powerful that humility can be. Not just in what you learn, but in how deeply people feel connected to you. Habit 4. Interrupting conversations with personal stories. Stories have power. They connect us, teach us, preserve memories. But there's a delicate balance between sharing and overshadowing. And sometimes, without meaning to, older adults cross that line by constantly redirecting conversations back to themselves. You might think you're relating. Someone mentions being tired, and you talk about the 3 jobs you worked while raising a family. Someone shares their vacation, and you launch into a tale about your road trip in 1973. It feels like bonding. But done too often, it starts to feel more like interruption than connection. Here's the truth. Younger people want to be heard too. They want to share their stories without having them folded into a lesson or comparison. And when they're always met with, "Well, back when their stories begin to shrink. They stop opening up, not because they don't care, but because they don't feel heard. This habit rarely comes from a place of ego. Often it's love. It's a way of saying, "I understand. I've been there." But when that message takes center stage too quickly, it leaves others backstage, waiting for a moment they never get. What helps? Pausing, listening fully, asking follow-up questions like, "How did that feel?" or "What happened next?" Let their story unfold before you add your own. And when you do share, make it a bridge, not a spotlight. Let it deepen the conversation, not reroute it entirely. When people feel truly heard, they lean in. And when you eventually share your story, it lands with warmth, because it came from mutual space, not competition. Habit 5. Being too negative or cynical. There's wisdom in honesty, but constant negativity, that wears people down. You may think you're just being realistic, pointing out the dangers, the flaws, the hard truths. But if every good moment is met with doubt or critique, it can cast a shadow over joy. A grandchild gets a job and you say, "They'll probably lay you off soon." Someone gets engaged and you reply, "Let's see how long that lasts." What starts as dry humor or honest opinion can quickly become a pattern, and that pattern can make people think twice before sharing anything good with you. Because here's what happens. People start to protect their joy. Not from strangers, but from you. Not because they don't care, but because they want to keep their hope intact. Negativity often stems from pain, disappointments, betrayals, years of letdowns. That's real. But the goal isn't to deny your experience, it's to temper it with grace. To speak from growth, not just wounds. Try this. When someone shares something hopeful, pause. Notice your impulse. If it leans cynical, ask yourself, is this helping or just a habit I've slipped into? And if you still want to offer caution, wrap it in hope. Say, that can be tough, but if anyone can make it work, it's you. People are drawn to those who bring light. Not fake cheer, but grounded optimism. The kind that says, yes, life is hard, but it's also beautiful, and I'm rooting for you. That's a presence others return to again and again. Habit 6. Ignoring personal hygiene or grooming. This one can feel sensitive, but it matters, more than most people want to admit. As we age, even simple tasks like grooming, dressing neatly, or trimming nails can feel exhausting. Some days it's easier to skip the shower, pull on whatever's clean, and push through. But here's the hard truth. When personal hygiene starts to slip, so do our social connections. People usually won't say anything out loud. They won't comment on the smell of clothes or greasy hair. But they might step back a little. Visit less. Choose phone calls over visits. Not out of cruelty, but because they don't know how to navigate that discomfort. It's not about vanity. It's about presence. Clean clothes, fresh breath, a combed head of hair, these are signals. They say, I care. About myself. About this moment. About you. Good grooming isn't about being flawless. It's about dignity. It reminds people, and yourself, that age hasn't taken away your self-respect. You're still showing up, still in the game. And that energy, that quiet pride, it's deeply magnetic. If health issues make grooming harder, ask for help in a way that preserves your pride. A family member helping with a haircut or a caregiver setting reminders. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Because neglect isn't always laziness. Sometimes it's loneliness, sometimes it's depression. And if that's the case, it's okay to speak up. To say, I haven't been feeling like myself. That honesty might just be the first step back to connection, starting with yourself. Because no matter your age, your presence matters, and how you carry yourself shapes how others feel in your company. Lead with care, and care will follow. Habit 7. Overstepping boundaries with younger people. This one's subtle, but powerful. What used to be playful banter or casual comments can now come across as invasive or even disrespectful. A joke about someone's weight, a remark about their clothes, or unsolicited opinions on parenting, dating, or careers. These once common exchanges can now build quiet walls. You might hear, oh, I'm just from a different generation. And that's true. But for the person on the receiving end, it's not about your generation. It's about how they feel in that moment. Even affectionate gestures, like an unexpected hug or kiss on the cheek, can land wrong if the other person is uncomfortable. What's meant as warmth can be experienced as intrusion. The key here? Curiosity, not correction, not defense, just curiosity. Instead of assuming, ask. Instead of teasing, pause. Watch their reaction. Let them guide the tone. And if they express discomfort, don't explain it away. Just say, thank you for telling me. I didn't realize. That response doesn't weaken your authority. It strengthens your relationships. Because boundaries aren't barriers. They're invitations. When honored, they create safety, trust, and deeper bonds. In today's world, respect is shown not just through what we say, but through how carefully we listen and how gracefully we adjust. Habit 8. Acting entitled. Because of age, respect should grow with age, but not entitlement. And yet, this is one of those patterns that can creep in without being noticed. It asks the comment in the grocery store line, I've earned the right. It has the dismissive wave at a younger person's opinion. What do you know? I've lived twice your life. It's the quiet expectation that people owe you their time, their energy, their presence, just because you're older. Let's be clear. You do deserve kindness. You do deserve to be heard. But the most powerful respect comes not through demand, but through grace. Entitlement, even when subtle, creates a tension. It turns love into obligation. Suddenly calls feel like check-ins, visits feel like duties, and every interaction feels heavy, like someone is trying not to disappoint you. When age is used as a weapon, to win arguments, to dismiss, to guilt, people stop hearing your wisdom. They only feel pressure. There's a better way. Ask for connection with sincerity, not command. Express your needs with vulnerability, not manipulation. Instead of, after all I've done, they owe me. Try thinking, I gave because I chose to, because it mattered. That mindset isn't weakness, it's legacy. Because the love that's given freely, without scorekeeping, is the love that draws people back. Again and again. Habit 9. Refusing to listen or change opinions. There's a quiet wall that builds when someone makes it clear, over and over, that their mind is already made up, that life has taught them everything worth knowing, that there's nothing left to hear. Yes, you've lived through more than most. Wars, heartbreaks, losses, reinventions. That deserves reverence, but real wisdom isn't just about holding knowledge. It's about staying open. Refusal to listen doesn't always mean shouting someone down. Sometimes it's the eye roll, the muttered, "That's ridiculous," the glazed look when someone dares to bring a new idea to the table. Over time, those reactions tell people, your voice doesn't matter here. And slowly, they stop bringing it. But here is the truth. The elders who are most respected are not the ones who bark the loudest. They're the ones who, even in their 70s, 80s, or beyond, still say, I hadn't thought of it that way. Tell me more. That kind of humility is magnetic. It says, I'm still learning, still curious, still alive in this world, not just watching it pass. So the next time someone challenges what you've always believed, try pausing. Ask a question instead of defending a position. You don't have to agree, but if you can listen with kindness, you keep the door open. Because in the end, staying connected is more important than being right. And that openness, that's the quiet power that makes people draw closer, not walk away. Habit 10. Guilt-tripping loved ones for not calling or visiting. Few things feel more personal than silence, especially as we age. When the phone doesn't ring, when the house feels quiet, when holidays come and go without the same warmth, it can hurt. It's easy to feel forgotten, left behind, and in that ache, guilt can slip out, disguised as sarcasm or dressed up as a joke. You might say, I guess I'm not that important anymore, or nice of you to remember I exist. And while those words may feel honest in the moment, to the person hearing them, it can feel like a trap. Like no matter what they do, it'll never be enough. Guilt might get a reaction, a call here, a visit there, but it rarely builds connection. What it builds is weight, an emotional tax on every interaction. And eventually, people start to pull away. Not because they don't care, but because they feel like they're never meeting the mark. But there's another way. Instead of guilt, try honesty with vulnerability. Say, I miss you. It means a lot when you reach out. That kind of language opens doors. It reminds people that their presence is wanted, not demanded. Also remember this, the people in your life, especially the younger ones, are often stretched thin, juggling jobs, families, health, stress. Their silence isn't always about you. Often it's just survival. And when they finally do have a moment to breathe, they'll be far more likely to reach for the phone if they know they'll be met with warmth, not guilt. The most beautiful gift you can give isn't a lecture or a loaded comment. It's a welcome, a smile. It's so good to hear from you. That's the kind of presence people return to, not out of duty, but out of love. Final thoughts. As we close this conversation, take a moment to breathe. Let these reflections settle, not with shame, but with softness. These 10 habits? We've all slipped into them at some point. They're human, they're common, and they can be changed. You're never too old to grow, never too late to soften, never beyond surprising the people you love with the quiet power of transformation. What stood out most to you? Which habit felt familiar? And what small change are you willing to try, just to see how it shifts the energy around you? Because here's what truly matters. You still shape how others feel in your presence. You still carry the ability to create comfort, to inspire joy, to be someone others are drawn to, not out of obligation, but out of affection. So be generous with your listening, gentle with your corrections, kind with your presence. That kind of legacy, it lingers far longer than any advice or tradition. It lives on in the way people feel when they're around you. Thank you for spending this time with us. If something here spoke to your heart, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. What did you learn? What will you carry forward? And if you found this video helpful, consider sharing it. You never know who might need these words today. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and stay connected.